and James Conner back, but it still wasn't enough. The Bills handing Pittsburgh their second loss of the season. Big Ben, what's going on with your offense?
We need to look in the mirror, and it starts with me. I need to play better football because the ball's in my hands every single play. And so when it's in my hands, I need to make the best decision. And right now, I'm not playing good enough football for us to win.
Stephen A., have you completely lost faith in your Steelers?
I have. And what I mean by that is that I'm thinking, what did I tell y'all? What have I told y'all all year long? Y'all know I'm a diehard Steelers fan. I'm thinking Super Bowl. The Super Bowl, and to me, the only excuse you have to not make the Super Bowl is if you run into Patrick Mahomes. Everybody will forgive you for that. You lose to the Kansas City Chiefs. We understand. That is the prohibitive favorite. They are a juggernaut. They are elite. We get it. But when you start off the season with 11 straight wins, there's simply no excuse. And when you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, I got questions about their secondary right now. We understand that. I always have. But what I've really lamented is the absence of a running game. Over the last 3 games, they're averaging 17 points. They haven't even scored 20, 19, 17, and 15 points they scored in their last 3 games. We can sit up there and debate why, and I'll leave all of that to Max as to the COVID and all of this other stuff. But let me tell you something right now. They don't have a running game. They started out the first 5 games of this year having 100-yard rushes, or at least rushing for 100 yards a game. I think they've done that maybe once or twice in the last 10 games. So they don't have a running game. James Conner is serviceable. He's decent. He's not that great, okay? He's certainly no Le'Veon Bell or Jerome Bettis or the kind of things we've been accustomed to seeing from the Steelers running game, all right? Snell and those boys, no, they ain't getting it done either. You don't run the game. You don't run the football. Max, you say it all the time. Mike Tomlin got the job. What did he say Steelers football was? Run the ball, defend the run. Period, if I remember correctly. They're not doing that on the offensive side of the ball. It's put more pressure on Big Ben Roethlisberger, who's prone to mistakes, but I don't even want to hear any excuses from him, which we didn't get to his credit because he said it wasn't him. You got 5 dudes, Ebron, Deontay Johnson, who's struggling. He's got to get his confidence back. I don't know where the hell it's going. Juju Smith-Schuster, James Washington, Claypool. They just ain't getting it done. Their offense is offensive. That's the damn problem.
I can't disagree with what you're saying, Stephen A., but I think you're wrong about having lost faith in the Steelers. Number one, when the run, you're right, James Conner is not Le'Veon Bell. But when you can't get anything going on the ground, they had, again, they averaged under 4 yards a carry, well under yesterday. When you can't get anything going on the ground, that's run blocking. It's run blocking. They're not getting the run blocking. I don't think it's James Conner's fault or any of the running backs' fault. Deontay, he's got to hold on to the ball. You're right about that. But the issue with the Steelers is their short passing game doubles sort of as a running game. And so time of possession, they're among league leaders. And that's what you need to do against the Chiefs, by the way. So I wouldn't Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl. I think we all know that. But I wouldn't totally lose faith in the Steelers along those lines. Really, this is what I think is going on with Pittsburgh. When you looked at their schedule, they were undefeated for so long because they're very good. And they play great defense. And Roethlisberger's had an amazing comeback year. And they had a very soft schedule. Right? So this is when the schedule was going to get tougher. And because they lost their bye, because the Titans had coronavirus, and then later on in the season when they're supposed to have their mini bye, the Ravens got it. They just played their 4th game in 19 days in the tough part of their schedule. And so what happened? They lost a couple. And both times they had early leads and they wore down. That's really what happened. They're tired. And it's a war of attrition at that point. 4 games in 19 days when you're supposed to have 28 days. They took, over a week out in terms of rest. That's what's going to happen. Washington doesn't have a good record, but we all know they're surging, especially on defense. And obviously, the Bills can play. And again, they had a lead. So I wouldn't read too much into that. I expect the Steelers, they still have some tough games coming up, not the Bengals, but I expect them to get back to form at the first time they actually have full rest. They'll still be a little worn down, but they'll be better. And I think once the playoffs roll around, they'll be live.
Wait, I'm trying to figure out why Max has faith in the Steelers. Because they're going to get rest? Is that why you think rest is going to make them play better on the offensive line? Or rest is going to help them get an explosive passing game? Or rest is going to help their pass rush come back? This is a team that is a good team, but they're not a Super Bowl contender anymore. What do they do well on offense? They're unexplosive. They can't block. Big Ben, doesn't seem comfortable in the pocket. They don't have a guy that has become like a deep threat, explosive pass game wise. Their defensive line misses Bud Dupree. They can't rush the passer with 4 anymore like they used to. That's what they are. They're not doing anything well. They went from undefeated to underwhelming very quickly. Still a good team, but rest is not going to bring something to this team that they don't have. To win in the playoffs right now, you've got to be explosive offensively. They can't. You've got to have a quarterback that goes above the X's and O's. They don't. They're not going to beat the Chiefs. They're not going to beat the Bills. I think the Browns are going to beat them. So I don't see anybody in the playoffs the Dolphins would shut down this offense. I don't see the first 4 or 5 teams in the AFC that I feel like they have a chance to beat.
Let me say something else. About my Steelers. Ben Roethlisberger at times was playing like an MVP candidate this year. That clearly hasn't been the case over the last several weeks. He can't move. And he can't shrug off defenders the way that he used to. The combination of the two makes him a very, very stationary target. Now, he can look off defenders. He can go through his progressions. He can still deliver some of the throws, but he's prone to make those mistakes. The more you ask him to throw, the more a mistake is inevitable, which is why it's that more important to throw the football. With Bush and Dupree out, obviously your secondary is compromised. We saw what Stephon Diggs did to them last night. 10 receptions, 130 yards. He did what he wanted when he wanted. They got him the football, and we know what Josh Allen could do. But I'm going to leave it to you by saying this, Max. As you pointed out in the past, because I'm not saying that you didn't notice this, but the more successful quarterbacks are the ones who can move. It's not just the ones who can stand in the pocket and fling the football, particularly the ones that are prone to making mistakes. You've got to be able to move. Ben Roethlisberger got away with it for many years because he could shrug off defenders with ease. It's not as easy for him anymore. They know it. They're coming after him. They're taking away the run, daring the Steelers to pass. And the more they do it, the more they know they can just be patient and lie in wait. And it's working.
All right, we got a heart out here. Dan, thank you so much for being with us. We'll see you on NFL Live a bit later when we come back here on First Take. The Chiefs did get a win, but Patrick Mahomes surely not bringing his A game yesterday.
Better than ever tomorrow. First Take.
Oh, yeah. Did you see Jalen Hurts in that performance he put on yesterday? Is the future of Carson Wentz in Philadelphia kaput, overdone? Plus, the Pittsburgh Steelers lost the game. They're in a world of trouble. I'll tell you why, even if Ryan Clark won't. And, of course, there is the issue of Patrick Mahomes.